Hello and welcome to the first installment of Race Brain Podcast for the 2024 full season of all your hybrid racing and OCR events. Boys, we had a week off. How's everybody feeling after the holiday? We refreshed? We ready? What kind of resolutions we got going on? Jack, resolution guy, what's your resolution for Race Brain?
Don't break my kneecap this year.
That's a good one across the board.
Fantastic one.
That's low-hanging fruit, though. How many years have you broken your kneecap?
1 time in a row. So yeah, I've broken a finger or a kneecap every other year. So this year, we're going on evens. Should be good. Next year, I don't know about that, but this year, 2024, we're good.
BK, you a resolution guy?
Yeah.
Nice. I like it.
I'm not like all in on it, but I like the idea of any sort of reason to better yourself.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I like that there's just this opportunity to just reflect on everything. You don't have to make these big swooping changes, but it's like, oh, I've wanted to drink less creamer in my coffee. Let's try it. And if it doesn't work, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't need to be a life-changing thing. It's just an idea.
An easy time to just try it.
Exactly. Why not? If not now, when?
Yeah.
Rich, are you a resolution or a resolute guy?
Both. Wow.
Damn,
that's excellent.
Look at that.
I'm drinking some of that Resolute coffee as we speak, getting back to normal. I was on the East Coast for a long time. It was great seeing friends and family. Just good for my brain, good for my soul. But now we're back in action.
What airline are you flying on when you travel back out east?
There is a direct flight from Denver to the Lehigh Valley. Believe it or not.
That's on is it Allegiant?
It's Allegiant.
Allegiant? Yeah, I almost did that for Palmerton and then I got my knee ding. So I remember seeing that and I was like, that's pretty sweet, honestly.
It's not bad. It's a tight flight. That's not the greatest of airlines, but everything seemed fine on my end.
Heck yeah.
So today we don't have a ton going on through the full month of December, really, and getting things started after the Okras. This is our first episode after the best episode we've ever done, second best after the watch along from Spartan in like 20.
Can't be topped.
21, I think. So today we're going to look into our crystal balls, and we are going to project what we think is going to happen for this 2024 season. I spent some time thinking about this, boys. I got some good stuff, I think. Maybe. I think it's good stuff. So that will be the social media breakout no matter what.
Say it with confidence.
Yeah.
That will be what we're talking about.
All of this stuff will turn out true.
So we want to take a kind of an overarching look at what will happen across the different platforms and across different races that we talk about here. I can start. I can look into the crystal ball.
You look excited, so I want you to
lead
on and derail you.
You're the host.
I can start. Got
look
my
in your
notes.
Fingers. You must have notes right there. Flipping the pages. Yeah.
Like I was on a flight. I was just thinking, doing my thing. See what we got.
You starting with crystal ball or wish list?
We have wish list.
We talked about this.
I did not.
Just kidding. We have no
crystal
crystal
ball. You're starting crystal balls is
it.
What my crystal ball is saying.
Your crystal ball is correct. So I'm looking forward to your crystal ball. So we should hit it with some sort of statement up front, I think. Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
DEKAFIT crushes international market in 2024. I think this market is that people in the community are hungry for just any kind of event. And I think that Deka really needs to improve their process and their actual events. From what I understand, the European versions are like a little chaotic. It's not as seamless and it's not as like premium as we see for Hyrox. But just
they have like 3 laps on grass. It's not what we typically see in the U.S. markets.
And I don't even think they don't have a Jack Bauer over there putting people in the appropriate heats. Like people just kind of standing around. Hey, give them a shout. But I think that Spartan and Deka is going to see like exponential growth, specifically on the DEKAFIT side of things, just by existing. So I think they could sustain some solid revenue and making a lot more money just by putting on these events because they're already there. I don't know if long-term that does a lot for them, but if it's going to be bottom line type of stuff that we're looking at for 24, 25, I think DEKAFIT is going to be a big charger on the Spartan side of things.
That's bold.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And then I have another question to pose to you guys.
Yeah, I actually support that. And I think that their model, where 2 out of the 3 event types that they have, most people think of fit because that's like the big spectacle one. But 2 out of 3 events that they have are in a gym. And there are gyms and boxes throughout the world. Doesn't matter. It's just exposure. Have enough people want to do it. Like I'm training at a CrossFit gym right now in New Hampshire, and they signed to be a Deka affiliate at the end of the year. They haven't hosted their first event, but I was telling them about it. They're like, yeah, we're going to do some of those next year, because it's just a good way to like give people a reason to get in shape and stuff. And it's a small footprint. So I agree. They've had events in Spain and Malaysia and Singapore. It was either Singapore or Malaysia. But it really
had a road show.
Yeah, I was going to say UK and like one in Canada, but Puerto Rico, I guess. But for the most part, it's just been like a one-off type of thing. But they've got room to expand. I agree with you, Rich.
I'd be more excited if that was Old Hampshire, New Hampshire, not Europe.
Yeah,
right.
Not getting behind that crystal ball.
Can't.
And
that the affiliate part was something I didn't really consider. I don't really know how, like how they classify their revenue that they're bringing in from the actual affiliates versus the events. And do you guys know how they've done the franchising with these different countries for like Spartan?
Spartan, it's simply a franchise.
I think they have a guy in Spain. That's why you see a lot of events in Tenerife and, throughout Spain. We've seen 3 or 4 different DEKAFITs specifically in Spain. I think that they have a guy over there, and he might now venture out to other countries. I'm just speaking on, hypothetical at this point, but I think there is a specific guy over there.
And then when they make like Spartan Canada, Spartan Mexico or whatever, when they put on an event, do the operators of Spartan Mexico, do they see all of that revenue, or is it shared to Big Spartan?
I don't know.
Or is it like a one-time licensing at the beginning and end of the year or something like that?
Yeah. I do not have an answer.
My guess is that it's an upfront cost. Simply because we don't see a high number of events out there. And so it would seem as if Spartan were getting kickbacks per event, they would be pushing for more events. But that's just speculation. That does not have any basis in anything I've heard in reality.
It has to benefit them somewhat, right? Because of the worldwide expansion that they've seen.
I would assume so, right?
Yeah, I think so. They're not doing it for nothing, I'm sure. But did you guys, I'm on DEKAFIT's Instagram page, and they did a year in review post a few days ago. They said total number of Deka affiliates went from 96 to 300 in the past since 2021.
Nice.
So definitely expansion there. The number of affiliate events, so a local gym hosting a Deka Strong or a Deka Mile, because those are the 2 local ones that they do, went from 196 to 650 over the past 2 years. And that's just US only. So I think you have some serious backing there where you expand the international market. We'll see that. And I want to see a lot of these people. Like, wouldn't it be great to see a Richard Heineck or, someone who we're used to doing OCR, but it's like, hey, this is in my neck of the woods. Maybe I'll try it. Like, I would love to see some of those top names. We've seen Thomas Tverdik. He used to be really good at OCR, and he won one of the ones over there. Alphonse, it would be great to see more people try to take down him in Spain, because we haven't really seen that. Michaela Norman, unbeatable throughout Europe so far. Like, I would just love to see some of these really high level people give it a shot and have that opportunity.
Has Ida done one?
A Deka? I don't. Not that I can recall.
Don't believe so.
Because that's what
Viola
has. She would do really well.
Be nasty. Yeah.
So how many affiliates do they need until they can pay their original affiliates? Before I make my New Year's proclamation of being more positive in general on this podcast, I'm going to tear them down one last time. We still have affiliates not paid. So we need to expand quickly, generate some revenue, and then back pay.
This is a bit of my follow-up that I had for this, and we'll just talk about this now, right? Like the money that's coming in is just going to like patch holes for a long time, right? So we're not going to be able to necessarily see it come back to us. I don't foresee in terms of the community or the high level athletes in general. It's going to be like, or they need to like hire people, right? They need to do something to help them expand or help the operation side of things, because what it seems like from our end is that that's really not ready. It's really not operating at a very high level. Again, just from the outside, we could be completely wrong, but I don't think so. But say they do make a bunch of money, right? What do you think Spartan as a company is likely to invest in more? We'll call it like athlete acquisition, like payouts and whatever. Would they invest more into hybrid, into Deka, or will we then see them reinvest back into OCR?
That'd be interesting, but
I think OCR.
I think the opposite. I think they've already kind of made their intentions clear with OCR, where they're cutting back on a lot of the prize money. It's like, here's the fresh direction. Why do you want people to sign up for it? Throw money at it. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's, I guess I can't fault that at all. My total speculation is based on Joe DeSena still being in some way, shape, or form at the helm.
Mm-hmm.
And he, at his core as an athlete, is an adventure racer.
Mm-hmm.
And Spartan racing is a pretty big deviation from that, but hybrid racing is a much further deviation from adventure racing. And so at his core, I think the thing he likes more is being out on the mountain, seeing people suffer and do all these things. I don't think stations and sanitary suffering is his passion. And so my guess is he will reinvest into the original dream until the well is sucked completely dry. But again, pure speculation.
Did you just call that sanitary suffering? Did I hear that
did.
Right?
I like that.
That's a good term right there. Instead of mud running, sanitary suffering.
And I think that checks, right? If the guy up top is going to have his hands on all these decisions, you would imagine that's like his baby, right? And like wanting to see that prosper, and maybe he still believes that is a high level area for athletes to explore. What are some of the other ventures that Spartan's in now? Like, right, there's like combat, right? Like wrestling.
Do you think that's
the same?
Yeah, they've got a bunch of like sub brands that they did and have acquired. But do you think
Paddleboarding,
it's the same?
Mountain biking.
Do you think that the top combat person knows who the top OCR? I think that it's just, people aren't aware of the cross brand pollination there.
But go ahead, Bracken.
I'm not personally aware, and I think that this room would be how much they've done in the other realms. Like, have they put on a La Ruta yet? Have they put on a paddleboard championship yet? How many wrestling tournaments have they been a part of? Like, I don't know what they've actually done with it.
They did that trail run world championship. I think it was in San Francisco area last year. A few OCR people did it, but it was, Joe Gray.
But that was Spartan Trail, wasn't it?
But I thought that they also acquired a different, maybe I'm confusing a year or two ago versus this most recent season.
That's kind of what that's what I don't know either. It seems like they are making small investments in a lot of different areas, and I don't know if they're dumping money into these areas if they're seeing growth. So if they are seeing growth in this hybrid space, will they try to cut some of these other investments to then dump it more into this, or do they just want to have like their fingers kind of in everything and just kind of want to get a little bit of revenue from a lot of things? Or do you think they are going to cut and like let something be prosperous if it seems that way?
Well, I think that we're operating still under the ramifications of what they did right prior to COVID. Like, they acquired most of these companies prior to that. And I think there was this, obviously as a third party, a faulty vision that they could be a monopoly for outside the box endurance sports. much like Ironman or UTMB are acquiring other pieces, but they're a production company. They're an event company, event management. It's a production. Yeah. Where Spartan is the brand and the race. I don't think they have shown any ability or even really desire to be an event management company. And yet that's what I think they were venturing into. And so I think they're kind of just stuck with it, unless there are things going on that we don't know about. I think that it's aimless. They're kind of aimless with that. And there's not really like a payoff. Like if you become the name in wrestling, you know, amateur or semi-professional combat wrestling, how does that in turn grow the La Ruta mountain biking or paddle? I think it was like a crisis of identity, and I don't know how well thought through it was. I think some things came across a desk and they said, all right, let's do it. Fire, ready, aim. And I think we're kind of paying for that right now. But I wouldn't imagine that they're suddenly going to, in a decade from now, be seen as the event management company. I think they're just going to be Spartan Race, who also has Deka.
But maybe with the acquisition of OCR World Championships, depending how much they are getting, is acquisition the right word on that?
I think know.
They did. Or is it some sort of?
But they did that with Battle Frog. They did that with Warrior. Is basically acquiring for pennies on the dollar old obstacles and mailing lists so that they can contact people who previously participated.
It's the mailing list.
Yeah,
we've never seen an obstacle appear.
Yeah,
right.
It's the mailing list.
Yeah,
and ego stroking, right? Feels really good to put someone out, to be the nail in the coffin.
Right. That's like a business power play.
Right.
You know, be like, hey, we're the top. Like this Spartan Race is going to be a business on its own that is going to be relatively sustainable from a certain perspective, right? And like they will be the one that people do. But yeah, is that just what I guess is yeah, because the idea of them being an event management company is interesting, but it doesn't seem to be where they want to go. But are they like an investment fund of sorts? Like where? I guess
they're
I just
diversifying.
That's kind of what it feels like to me. Just like they're like, we have this umbrella of money, and then we're investing in these little things, and maybe hopefully those can rise up, and we could sell those off or whatever and make money. Like, is it just going to be like a big fund?
It's like the Spartan Race Mutual Fund.
Yeah. It's funny to be maybe ironic because it's the thing they do worst. You wouldn't bring them in to audit your event or to show how it's done. No, what they do great is they capture people's imagination and their passion, and they work them into the ground wearing too many hats. Like they can cultivate motivation out of people and put them to work for them, but they don't really have a business model that you can copy. They have a fantastic set of volunteers and underpaid workers who put on fantastic races, but their business management kind of sucks. So I don't think they could be an event management company because I don't think they're good at managing their events. That makes sense.
It seems that way.
Oh, go ahead, Rich.
I was going to say it seems that way, but then like the TV show, right? Like basically like, let me show you how to do business. It just seems like that's what they would want to be. Like, let's make all of these businesses better businesses based around what we've done. And like, we can grow a DEKAFIT into something that is maybe not as like Spartan, or we can grow a Spartan Combat or a, what else? What are the Spartan Kayak?
La Ruta? Kayaking? La Ruta?
Yeah. Something else?
Yeah.
You know, and are they just exploring and trying to figure that out? And they're going to get back to the roots and just be like, we're just going to do Spartan Race now. And if that's what it is, that's what it is.
I do have a question for you. You guys, are you still coming across people who have never done OCR who reach out to you? I'm sure as coaches that happens semi-regularly. Rich, maybe a little less for you since you're kind of the hybrid path, but are you still finding people who are not, or who are completely new to OCR and just want to give it a shot?
Yeah, but more hybrid than OCR at this point.
And those people might be people coming from hybrid. It's not, or I'm sorry, coming from OCR. It's not exclusively people coming from OCR.
They scratched that OCR Rich and now they're doing hybrid.
There's some of that. There's some of that, but the people I'm hearing from more are like, oh, I saw this race and I want to get ready for it.
But the reason I'm asking, how did most people find out about OCR? They saw like the pictures in the mud, you know, the fire jump, all the barbed wire, that kind of stuff. Did you hear that this upcoming season, actually as of yesterday, January 1st, they are charging for photos, which I think is going to hurt that side of the, guerrilla marketing or whatever you call it, where people just post it and that's just free marketing because it looks cool. And, I think that might have some negative implications there. I don't like that a whole lot. I have never bought race photos from like a road race or anything where they charge you to take photos. Just work it into the price.
It's funny. It's endurance industry standard, but OCR in its own bubble, it is not industry standard.
Right.
And so they're going to devalue things for their customers while joining the 21st century.
Everybody else, Hyrox does it. Hyrox charges for photos. People don't complain about it.
And people will probably get mad that it's like, oh, Spartan's charge. It's like you got 13 years of free photos when everyone else isn't doing it. But most of my race photos from road races or anything else are just have the watermark. I'm like, I'm not paying for them. It's something I won't do. And I wonder what % will.
Well, people love to turn around and post their photos immediately on social, and that will have some sort of a negative impact on the word of mouth social media spread of free advertising.
But they could reinvest the money that they're saving from the free photos or whatever into a more like a newer style of marketing or something like that. If they want to double down on influencer marketing or whatever is working right now, right? And so they'll be able to see a side by side. It's like, okay, these photos that people send out, maybe they've gotten us to this point. Well, we got to see what else.
Yeah. And there's probably going to be some duration early on where they just ride through the storm, whatever. Like we're going to have some negative fallback, but then eventually people are going to see photos on there. And it's like, oh, I kind of want one of those. And then I have a feeling it'll catch up a little bit. It'll never get to the same level that it has now where it's free. So of course you're just going to go and get your photos. Most people do that. They're never going to get 100% sign up for, buying photos now that they cost money, especially $30. But we'll see how that happens. I'd be curious if they have a weekend package. Like if you're doing a trifecta, are you going to have to pay for the Sprint, Super, and Beast ×3 basically? Or if they have a all-in-one inclusive type thing, that might be a different model to encourage people, but they've got business degrees. I don't. That's just some thoughts.
It's important to remember, not everyone in their company has a degree in what they're doing.
Yes.
Business degrees are stupid anyway. Yeah, they are. straight up. Yeah.
Here's the important piece for this to me:
experience, not degree.
Does the quality of photos improve? Because with free, we are happy to get 2 or 3 great photos out of 11 blurry out of focus shots, or that's my shoulder.
Right.
If you pay $30 for them, you expect high definition, like a Jack Goris style photography. Right, and will we get that? I'm not sure, but they have to be useful now. In the past, they got away with those timer cameras and stuff, whatever, where it just snaps random strobes and you get what you get. Now you're going to need, like, I can't see me over the fire jump. There's just smoke. That won't be acceptable anymore. And so they might create their own problem, or they might, and this would not be Spartan's MO, but they might say, we're doing this because we're bringing in a higher end level of photographer to take care of this. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. I'd also be curious if they go to new locations. How many bucket carries do you guys have? How many barbed wire crawls or Z-wall? It's the same 5 or 6 that I've had since the beginning. I think it would be cool to get some different ones, honestly, but I'm still not paying.
And I wonder if it is the people like us who don't need them that will stop, but their first time, second time, the people who do it once a year, who do want them, or people, like I think it would be cool if you, for the people that come once a year, right? It's the onesies in your town, and you've lost 20 pounds since your last one. You're gonna buy that photo. You're buying that photo no matter what, right? It's like this is part of my fitness journey.
And it's hard to put yourself in that mentality. Like if we talked about a Legionnaire earlier, if I'm flying on one of those, I'm on the plane anyway. I'm not paying for extra seats, but a lot of people do pay for that kind of stuff. A lot of people do buy a snack on a plane. Just because I don't do it doesn't mean a decent chunk of people won't do it. And it's probably the same way for race photos. Just because the 3 of us might not do it doesn't mean the 80% of the race who does open heat and doesn't have a big collection of photos already might not be interested in doing it.
Rich and I bought our Hyrox doubles.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Bracken, you didn't buy the one with me? Just kidding.
No, I realized it was a scam. No. Right away, I thought, you know what? This will be good for social. It'll be good for running public, for using it for episode art and things like that. And then the next day, Rich emails me. He's like, hey man, I got a zip file for you. Turned out he bought them too. Like, even though I don't think we're the intended market for most of these decisions, even we, for that first one, that was my first race in a long time. I'm like, I need some social stuff.
Totally.
I'm going to buy it.
Everyone's a hybrid.
Michigan turned out for you for Spartan. Everything's in the dark. Better be better than that.
But another thing, I would imagine that, Jack, like you're saying, kind of packaging things up. I'm guessing like whatever their unbreakable, whatever, like their tiers of yearly, whatever.
Annual pass people. Yeah.
Get the credit card, get free photos. Stuff like that will probably be.
It's the airline model. It's like get a free check bag. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to upgrade to boarding group 2? Like, no.
That was an all-encompassing crystal ball. Deka will expand rapidly, and we got all the way to Spartan photos.
Spartan. Who's next?
I've got one. You want to stick with Hyrox or hybrid, or do you want to go to OCR?
Whatever you like.
All right.
It was kind of both.
I think that Hyrox, after this season, they will figure it out on their qualification system. I know that the season ends halfway through, but they have heard enough complaints over the past 2 to 3 seasons about how things are wrong. They were willing to do stuff to make changes, but I think they're going to get it right for the following season. So I guess the 2025 World Championship qualifying.
My crystal ball said something similar, that they will go away from time completely.
Yep. Exactly. My thoughts is that they're going to go away from time because they just recognize it's not the same. They will still have times and like a time leaderboard and all the time results. But in terms of qualification, I think that they're going to open up, have that Anas and Marcus Wallace and Colin Stever, that second heat where people can get in. And it's just whoever ran the fastest that day. I think that they may have multiple waves be able to do the grid system. And it's just rank everybody that day, regardless of which heat you're in. And that's who's going to make the elite 15 at the end of the year. If they're going to have 4 races again, the 3 plus the last chance qualifier, it's a good improvement. But I think they're going to make a few more tweaks that all of us have mentioned. And I think it'll be a lot better system next year.
I think that's a logical announcement to make out of your crystal ball. I think it makes sense because Hyrox has been following their own version of logic and taking feedback throughout the whole process. Some of their announcements haven't made logical sense to us on the outside, but from their perspective from the beginning, it's been on brand, but they have been open to each year taking feedback and fixing things. I think that they have done a better job on that than anything else in this hybrid OCR space. Maybe OCR Worlds, but they got a lot right from the start. So I would say I'm with you. I have confidence in their brand at this point.
I've been hypercritical of a lot of their decisions, especially on the athlete side of things. This year is definitely an improvement from last year. It's not perfect, right? It's really also, again, they're trying to build stories around athletes as opposed to building stories around sport, and then highlighting the athletes who are good at the sport. They're trying to do it the opposite way, it seems like to me. It's like, let's make stories around athletes and they'll run the race and whatever happens in the race. So they have a little bit of improvement from where I stand to be like legitimate as a sport. You know, like what other sport can, like I was thinking if you wanted to make the Olympics in the 5K, like if we're just like, we're doing it this year, any one of us, there's a path that we could most likely take to get us there. It's like run a time, run a qualify, sanction event, move your way up to this ladder, and you'll have the opportunities. Like
in our country.
Is that, yeah, in our country. Okay, that's fair.
Others just name, here's the athlete who's going to go to the Olympics, or you're on the spot and the other 2 are up for grabs.
Right. Okay. So in our country, that would be, there's a process that we can do that, where Hyrox like kind of doesn't have that, right? It's like you can do everything in your power and you just won't have the opportunity to get there. And I don't think that's really what like a legitimate sport trying to find the best does. But you know what really makes me agree with this the most is that the way that they improved their coverage from Chicago to Sweden. Like short turnaround. They said that they were going to own it, and not just be like, hey, we all look at this. We agree that this was bad. Like there's kind of like your fake apology, but then they came in and actually made it better in a very short amount of time. Right. So they're showing that at least they're interested in finding out what the sport and professional side can give them, and not just like making it some sort of like marketing, whatever, just like not paying any attention or caring that much and just kind of blowing past it. So that coverage alone makes me feel like that they are going to make the move towards sport even further.
I agree with that. And I guess we were all kind of on the same page, because my crystal ball prediction was that in 2024, Hyrox surpasses Spartan as the most important brand in fitness racing. Now, that counters my wish list, which I will state later. But in terms of prognostication for the sport, I see Hyrox poised to take over, to the point where I believe they could put on a toughest style OCR race in the next 2 to 3 years if they so choose.
Oh,
you're
expansion
talking
into.
Are you talking the yellow bibs for where you just have a bunch of people going all at once?
Yep.
Interesting.
Now, I don't see that for this calendar year. We would have heard about it by now, and I don't even know if that's their goal, but I think that they could, because they have the two most important things in business, sport, anything, and that is momentum and money. They have them both right now, which is why we can see a quick turnaround on coverage. What happens when Spartan coverage sucks? It's like, well, this is what we're doing this year. Well, why is that? Because they have no sense of momentum. It's not going to change anything really for them.
No.
They're not aiming for anything much bigger right now, and they can't throw money at it even if they wanted to, where Hyrox can say, we're going to bring in what's needed to get it done because we got money to play with and we are trending correctly. And that's when you are excited and you have direction and you have the capital to do things, you do them. And they're in that seat right now.
Because I'm sure they are thinking of what this business is going to be long term, the way that we were talking about, like, what is Spartan, right? Is Spartan just a race? Is it a fund? Is it a management company? Like, is this the year we see Hyrox make that announcement that they're going to move into the next part of what we understand this business to be?
If I were them, I would be having the conversation, do we buy Spartan? Not that they should. Buy Deka and make it Hyrox Light. The entry-level, accessible, short-track version. I'm not saying that they even should, but they are in the point right now where I believe they are going to become the industry. And what do we see when people become the industry? They either play well with everyone or they decimate everyone. And Spartan was at the table with Hyrox 3 years ago, and Hyrox remembers this. And Spartan pulled out at the last minute and founded Deka. So if we know anything about businessmen and businesswomen, is that they do not forget any slight and they will cut off their nose to spite their face. And so we've seen things like this before. Is there a chance Hyrox does not stop with fitness racing, that they look to take over OCR globally as well, if only to kill it? That's my crystal ball, and it's nasty.
I love it. I love it so much. I love the idea of Christian just like throwing darts at Joe DeSena's face.
Yep.
And just be like, you think you could buy me? I'm going to turn around.
Is this going to become
you?
Is this going to become like World War III right here? Germany against the US again?
Fitness battles. That would be like, I don't look at them even as opponents often. You know, like maybe when that happened, like the Deka, whatever, like, yeah, like kind of like, hey, let's just do this that they've done, and we'll just slap Spartan on it. We'll send it to our emails that we have from all the Battle Frog attendees, and we'll see what we got. And like, if that like really rubbed them the wrong way, it's like, okay, we're gonna figure out, because they're like Spartan, like covering that sport or running that sport is just like logistically challenging, like outdoor. Like these huge events, like it's been the major issue with the sports side of OCR is that it's like hard to watch, even when it's covered well. It's still kind of like, what is this? What's going on? Is this hard? They're barely moving. But if like they could take it from what they've learned from the Hyrox side and kind of do it inside out and apply it to OCR, like, no, from what we understand doing it here, like that, we can't even register in our brains how that could work outside. And could that make a better product? Could it be something that we've had in our minds that we want to see? Can they do it? What's that?
Cloverfield.
That's happened. It all comes back to the Cloverfield
or Cloverleaf.
No, they've been
Cloverleaf. Yeah,
Cloverleaf. I was like, man, that would be a disaster. This was happening, and then a monster came in and just was like, this whole conversation doesn't matter.
And I want to be clear. My true crystal ball for the year is that Hyrox surpasses Spartan in importance to the industry.
Just a little more subjective.
But it wouldn't take that big of a stretch to think they're vindictive about what Spartan did to them 3 years ago. And now Spartan is on fumes and Hyrox has momentum and money. And the third M, motivation.
Right? I like this. I mean, it's reasonable. It's reasonable, but like for Hyrox to make the decision to get mixed up with a company like Spartan, like they might be looking at me like, this company's just going to kill themselves. Do we need to have anything to do with them destroying their standing? It's like, let's wait another year and see. Let's do the old need to see another year. I'll put an asterisk next to this conversation and we'll come back and be like, yeah, Hyrox just like disintegrated.
They'll never do it, but I would love to see like just a cross competition between the two. It's like you pick your person, like, all right, Hunter, you're going head to head against Bubbles the Clown and the last 5 zones of this, and then we're gonna have someone else. You pick your representative, Rylan, you're gonna have to do 100 wall balls versus Alex Ronchevic, and good luck beating Meg Jacoby. That would be really cool. They'll never do it.
I'm taking a step farther.
Yeah.
An indoor-outdoor games, a crossover event where it's like OCR World's teams, but you send your outdoor guy out. He runs 2K, hits the obstacle gauntlet, hands off. Your indoor guy goes in, does his sleds, hands back off. People love crossovers. We could have a MCU style crossover.
Could you imagine the draft? Like you have a pretty solid person at DEKAFIT, but then you get Johnny Luna Lima on like the descent leg, something like that. Now it makes up 30 seconds. You're suddenly in the lead. The lead changes that would happen in that would be exciting.
This is kind of like BK, what you wanted to do, your stadium beast type of thing.
Stadium beast.
Oh, yeah. It could be something like that, right? Just run
Happens
out
in the Meadowlands.
Philly. It could happen. It could happen in Philly for sure.
I would sign up to that in a second.
But it could be some sort of relay into. I like this. We need that bankroll. Give us that cake. Give us that cake. We'll make this happen.
So we're all bullish on Hyrox.
Bullish on Hyrox.
Yes.
I have something similar, and we're dipping our toe in here talking about crossover events. My crystal ball told me goofy games in 2024 will be less goofy. We will see like a serious competitor rise up that can take a big chunk of this existing market now. And there's going to be like there's companies, people with money who are clearly like following this progress, right? And maybe there's some sort of collaboration. Like Puma is the worldwide sponsor for Hyrox this year. Like the complete rumors, like I don't know this at all, was that Reebok came in and wanted to be the sponsor as well. So say like a Reebok collaborates with the aforementioned Iron Man, they're looking at this like, we're an event company, we can do this, we can fund a crazy event right from the start and do it well. Slap Reebok on it, and there's an instant competitor, an instant beast of a competitor that will have to be taken seriously and could do a really high level event that could be executed, but that we might not even know we need or we want, but we'll look at it and be like, oh yes, this is going to work.
But goofy game style?
No. I feel like
I was like, come on, I want to see that.
There will be no combat. That Spartan that's what might happen with the bankroll that Spartan makes from Deka, is that Spartan Combat enters
the combat
Goofy games market. Yeah.
So Rich, you weren't around, and I wasn't really competing much at that time, but like this sort of sounds like Atlas games or Atlas Race, when they just showed up and just threw a bunch of money, just came out of nowhere. They were already the big dogs. Yeah, and he was on the Colts. But is that kind of what you're getting at, where we're just gonna show up and already be ready to put on a high event without any like grassroots growth?
Yes, and something that seems like it will be good. It will work. I don't know much about Atlas games either, but that there is going to be a major competitor here. Like we won't see the event this year, but we'll hear about the money coming in and like the potential of some new event.
You're not saying all Goofy games are going to be, they're done because of this Supreme Goofy games?
Are you saying that they're going to get less goofy this year? They're going to be more streamlined.
There's going to be more like right now. It seems like what Goofy games are, it's like, yes, there's people that see this opportunity to help with this, the growth of this like community, or wants to like help test these athletes. But it looks like it seems more like a lifestyle like choice.
Yeah, like they're ready for the unknown. I'm really fit in pretty much everything. I can do whatever you throw my way type of lifestyle.
And the events themselves are like small in comparison to what we've seen at like a Hyrox, right? And it's like, maybe let's test this out. Maybe we can grow this into something. And it is like at the grassroots type of level, or like if we can continue to grow. But like realistically, how big is Rally in the Valley ever going to be? Right? Like maybe there's 2 events throughout the year and it's at the same compound. Like is Battle Bunker going to be an event that you can do all year? Is that what it's going to be like for Alpha Warrior? Like it's one location. Maybe they have a dozen events of event every month, right? Like, but nothing is like, those are events that maybe they can make a quick buck. Maybe they could sell it off to a bigger company, but like, they're not going to come in and compete where this is going.
They can't.
And
they all have a bias. They all slew towards the like the community aspect of the event that puts it on. Like we all ruck, or we suffer and do grip work, or we love shooting guns. Like there's always that bias in there. There isn't yet a outside company that has said we're going to do an unbiased version. And I think you're right that the only way to shake up a saturated industry is with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like if we would have looked at 2 years ago, the energy drink industry, we would have said like, why would you even try getting started in this right now? How would you ever break through? And then the Paul brothers were like, we have millions. Let's create Prime. I'm like, that sounds dumb. And now it's everywhere. They just bought a stake in it and they're there instantly. Overnight, they were in every supermarket and it's there. Someone could do that. Like you said, Iron Man could do that with a hybrid, with an OCR, with a Goofy games, just by having more capital than anyone else can play with.
And if it seems like an investment that is going to be profitable, which I don't see why not at this point. Like maybe it's too early still, and they're going to need to see a little bit more sustainable growth, because right now it's like a massive spike. Right. Is it just like this outlier? Like how sustainable is this going to be before we dump a ton of capital into it? Maybe it's early, but maybe they need to get their foot in there before it does go, or maybe they need to get a foot in there to legitimize it a little bit. They see that opening, right? It's like, okay, like let's make it a sport.
We're talking about well-known people. Whatever happened with that 3KO thing with Conor McGregor? He was going to put on sort of a hybrid. He's not Goofy games, but similar, like here's a big name attached to it, not really doing anything with it, but his name is associated with it, so it'll get some exposure.
To me, that was like the first hint that this is going to happen, because that's similar to the company that was going to run that event. They're an event management company. They do like Ragnar races, and they're almost like a fund, kind of more or less, and they can fund things down. They have a bunch of companies under them, and 3KO is going to be one of those. I just don't think the concept worked. I don't think that the marketing was not right. Like what like Dwight Freeney on an obstacle race or whatever. Like, what? How does that person help? How does Conor McGregor help find fitness people? You know, it doesn't.
He's not even a fighter with fitness,
right?
Like he's known for gassing out. You would have to find someone that makes sense or a company that makes sense, and you have McGregor as a silent partner for a while.
If he wants to be involved, right? Yeah, like
it's mixed signals.
It wasn't good marketing to me.
The other piece is that a total outsider can do, and as an insider in an industry, I always get really standoffish when someone wants to come out. Like even when Atlas Race did their thing, I'm like, who are you to do this? You don't know. Why didn't you ask us? Like we get standoffish. But the one thing that they can do is come in with no preconceived notions about how a race should look. Everyone who puts on a version of hybrid racing right now has ergs or sleds and lunges. Like that's what's there. They just all use it because that's what we think of for this. Someone would come in and put together a really outside the box, but logical competition that I don't know if we would normally be able to come up with because we are too used to what it should look like. And they could do the opposite.
And that I think is healthy. Like in OCR, again, I started really trying to like branch out in like 2016. So it existed for a couple of years, but every OCR event from the minute you check in is the same. Like the check-in process is the same, right? It's like, and then like one of them you start in a pool, and that's their big innovation. It's like pool, great. I'm wet now. But
you
like
have a big awning, you have monkey bars, you run on a trail, you have a rope climb, you carry something. That's
right. And like, you know, whatever the differences are pretty subtle. Like the colors of the t-shirt are different, but like, do we need something that is just completely flipped?
Porter Row, whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because there's so many ways to test fitness and make it look exciting. And I think that's what's CrossFit's genius at the end of the day is that they can come up with very different, easy and pleasurable to view activities that are nasty tests of fitness. Like they'll put some giant dong shaped thing on a football field and say, flip it. And we're like, this is awesome.
It's like, it's 700 pounds. You're like, oh, I understand that I ain't flipping that penis.
Yeah. Or even like their agility sprint thing. Like,
right.
We never would have given them that event, but it was great viewing. You know, they come up with things because they think about it differently. And I think there's a place for that in this sport.
Name like 2 events that you would put into a future non-biased hybrid event that are not in there currently. Like it's going to be hard if you have 8 to 10 zones. It's hard to think of something new.
Pacer test.
During the middle of it? How many rounds do you have to complete?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like we can't.
Right.
We would have to sit around as like a think tank
and test,
spend weeks.
Because right now it would be like, oh, we row and we run and we lift sandbags and we run. Like it would default back to like how we like to do things.
Even our hybrid competition that we built on this podcast was based around the type of events we already see in the industry.
Yeah. Like maybe a little changes here or there, but there's just like a similar type of workout that will favor similar type of athletes.
And we have an athlete type in mind that we want to see represented as the peak of fitness.
Right.
Someone else doesn't have that.
For sure.
Like if we're building it and the 3 of us can't do moderately well and Hunter can't do exceptionally well and Ryan can't do very well, like say this doesn't test the ultimate hybrid athlete.
Right.
Because we already know these are our versions of what we think the best hybrid athlete is. And we're bound by that.
And that's what ends up being a little bit tricky with something like CrossFit existing is like, where does that line end up being blurred? Right. So like staying kind of away from that because it already exists. And that's things that we're seeing more and more. It's like, okay, is this weak? Is this just CrossFit for not good CrossFitters? Or like, what is this?
CrossFitters. Yeah. I mean, CrossFit, they'll every 3-4 years, they'll be like, all right, we're doing 17.2 again. They'll repeat some workouts, but for the most part, they've had a good number of events in that 3 to 12 minute time frame that just have never been repeated again. It's pretty remarkable that they're able to do that.
Or what if CrossFit does this? What if this is an area that CrossFit's like, we're doing a hybrid race?
They'd be the best at it, I think.
I mean,
putting it on.
That would be kind of like maybe not the Because I mean, the Paul brothers, I mean, I'm sure they don't have as much money as like these big, like as Coca-Cola to get into like the energy drink market, but they have the social capital to instantly that it could kind of balance things. And they have some money. I don't think they do great financially, honestly. But what if they're just like, hey, let's just try this at, but their issue is they only do one event. Whatever. Say they do like at Wadapalooza. This wouldn't happen, but at Wadapalooza, there's going to be a CrossFit hybrid event, hybrid race, or whatever.
What about Dubai this year or whatever? Like, they're just going to put something on. Why not?
What about that strongman thing in Austin? They had it at the same time. The Rogue Invitational. So yeah, they sort of have a little bit of a crossover.
It could be, but again, it's not. That wouldn't be CrossFit as an entity because that's Rogue's event, and Wadapalooza is Wadapalooza by itself. Like it would be.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who the managing company was in that point. Yeah.
CrossFit only does one event, and it's the CrossFit Games, and like the lead up into it, like the semis and the Open or whatever. Yeah, whatever. So it would be a complete deviation, but it could be something like that, or like Rogue puts it on with their strongman and whatever. I don't know. That's my crystal ball.
There it is. You got a wish list?
No, I wish for nothing.
Well, I'm starting off then.
I'll give you time. I have one more. I have one more crystal ball.
Do it.
If we're gonna do crystal ball,
do crystal ball. We're good. We're
tap
it. Is this the year of the Ultra? We have an Ultra World Championship. We have the biggest prize money by far in OCR history. Tough Mudder, Saudi Arabia in 2 months. I feel like they could throw another random event at some point during the middle of the year. And obviously World's Toughest Mudder has been, but you're just seeing more and more people try it and succeeded it through the years. I could see this being the year of the Ultra.
I like it. I personally think obstacle course racing in its purest forms are very short or very long. Everything in between, I love, but it really comes down to what you're doing with the running and obstacle placement. And it doesn't matter if it's very short and if it's very long, because you can't have weaknesses in either one of those. As soon as it gets mid-length, like 30 to 90 minutes, let's call it 2 hours, like so many other things can happen. Course setup matters. The shorter it is and the longer it is, the more it's just pure. That's what obstacles are made for. They either break you or break you down, or make you take chances, or make you have strategy. In between, it's just like, just go run hard for 2 hours and don't fail anything.
It's going to be the same people winning the sprint versus the beast anyway, almost every time.
But the Ultra really excites me. And I think it could be a fantastic year for OCR Ultra. And it's where society's heading. UTMB's never been bigger. Western State's never been bigger. It's never been harder to get into major hundreds than it is now. So I think it makes sense.
It would make it logically, it would be a great move for I mean, and you might be right, Jack, that just naturally people do start gravitating toward that because the amount of money that they've cut for we haven't really talked about that, right? How the series
we're doing that on the wish list.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. But just that say these hybrid events do spread more and there's more, calling it again, athlete acquisition costs put into Deka, Hyrox, new events, and these people that thrive in the 30 to 120 minute range, that's where they're going to need to go. Then like it's super muddy. So yeah, push it out to the 5 hour to 24 hour range. And like, there's something for those people who want to do that there. I think it makes sense just so you're not competing with the same, and it differentiates. And that's something that I want them to do so bad now. Cause they just want to, it's a world championship for everything. Always, here we go. It's like, no, just like plant your flag on something.
And every little piece will be exciting. The longer the event, the more uncertainty there is. And the more that every move has time to be analyzed and second guessed, and the announcers can talk about it. Like, you can win for 20 hours in DNF. You can be in 20th place for 20 hours and win. You in a 2 hour race, we can all get to the point. I shouldn't say we all. Any high level athlete can get to the point where 30 minutes to 2 hours, they can peg it. They can pick their exact perfect strategy and just hold it there. And very, very, very few people, especially in our realm, will be able to do that for an OCR Ultra. And so it's going to make for such compelling action. Short course is compelling, even when the courses are dumb, because it's close and it's tight and it's exciting. And ultras are going to be compelling because of the magnitude of what they're doing and the risk reward.
And the storytelling, like we've seen, even just like Matt Davis's documentary. Right? Like these longer events allow for greater stories. That's really what we're doing with following these longer events. Like
it can breathe a little.
Yeah, like you can see people persevere. Things like come up and go down, and where in a high-end event, it's just like you have to know what's going on beforehand to see it, to kind of tell yourself the stories as it's playing out, so you can kind of follow the narrative on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's a big race like that, then you can really start highlighting what's happening in there and showing how hard these things are. I don't really follow the ultra endurance worlds for running, like the UTMB or the or like a Western State type of thing. I'll catch like if something crazy big happens or whatever, but I don't know like who got 10th. You know, how are those things covered for the public? Like, how do they tell those stories, or do they show the races? Like, how
they do?
How does that work?
So there's always a live stream during, and they do just the best they can do. And they rely heavily on GPS trackers and correspondents out on course. There's always a condensed recap afterwards, which could be a 2-hour condensed or 40 minutes or whatever it is. But then along the way, they do these little docuseries lead-ins. Like Hoka did their lead-in with Walmsley. And then people did it, like you have the North Face people who are doing theirs. And, Zach Miller was having his comeback year. And so there's little 30-minute episodes along the way. So they treat it as, instead of a series, they have a series of videos. And they'll have to qualify along the way, but there's not a national series or a world series for them as much as there are tentpole events. And then they build intrigue, and then they recap, and they build intrigue and recap. And I think that makes a lot of sense for our sport in its current iteration. We can't throw money at series races, and we can't guarantee people will be there. Putting on a few tentpole events matches up with the ultra world.
And when Spartan was probably the most successful, based off of nothing other than just my own opinion in terms of showing sport, was when they were doing like the NBC stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Where they were just catching clips of major areas of the race and then having the athletes kind of explain in post and having it all cut together. That's when it's looked the best. And so maybe that's just what it needs to be. And going into the ultra space just gives them more time to do that.
And this is still the thing that I get feedback on the most from random people. Like this past weekend at our alumni basketball tournament, I haven't seen these people in almost a decade, and they're coming, "Hey, you still doing that racing stuff? I was in a bar here and saw it, or I was here,
right.
or I was at this work event and look, I saw you on the screen." Like that is so far in the past, yet that's still the most common thing that people that I used to know in my life bring up when they see me, is that they saw me on an NBC or ESPN coverage somewhere. The live streams don't get to the general consciousness.
No.
It has to be on TV or a legitimate production on YouTube.
Or good. Yeah.
Yeah, good. And those are the things that cut through into the public consciousness. Oh, that's on the Ocho. I'll watch it.
Yeah. Bracken, you mentioned the smaller recap between the trail events. Do you think that it would be a good idea, since Spartan kind of has everything? They've got Deka, they've got short, they've got long. If one of those recapped episodes, they spent, say it's 30 minutes, they spent 10 minutes on Deka, just a consolidated clip, 10 minutes on, the 3K, 10 minutes on whatever else major race throughout the season. Would that be a good way to kind of combine everything and expose the brand a little bit more? You might get some interest in people who are specifically looking at this. Because if you look at track and field, I know it's not the most popular sport to watch, but they have field events, they've got sprints, they've got distance, all in the same broadcast at various times, appealing to different people. And some people love it all. I feel like that might not be a bad idea if they're going to do a consolidated version.
I think that they have the most aimless YouTube channel I've ever seen for a major brand. They're always starting something, the Unbreakable series, or now it's Conversation with the CEO, or now it's like do tough shit, but they never see it through to anything. I think ongoing recaps of races, giving people things to watch on a repeated on a scheduled basis is the way to keep momentum going in your brand. So they have so many races happening. Recaps are the poor man's way of putting on good production quality, because we can all record in 1080p on our phones, and since we're not streaming it, there's no degradation in signal. And so recaps are a great way for people to do it, and I think they should take way more advantage of it.
There are so many, like, just not candid conversations, but just regular conversations I'd have while I was a rabbit that never made the broadcast, and a lot of times were muted. You could take that stuff and just learn to like the athletes, because we're just talking about regular stuff. And I'm sure the other rabbits were doing the same when they were covering whoever, just having a conversation out on the course. And I think that that would be really intriguing. And you've got your filler material between races to build up your storyline and get to know the athletes and have someone to root for or against. Like, yeah. I think it would be a good idea.
UTMB, for the example, I watch all the lead-ins. It was like a 5 or 6 part Walmsley series leading into, can he capture this thing finally? And then I watched it live. The best. What's up?
How long per episode?
I want to say it was like 13 to 20 minutes.
Okay, so short clips.
Yeah, but long enough to like get something out of it. And I could be a little off on that. But then I watched it live, and then I'd watch some recasts. But then there's like UTMB from the crew perspective, and I'd watch that on the treadmill one day. It was like 40 minutes of the crew doing their thing, and then you had already seen the race footage. Now you see it from the other him coming in to his crew. We saw it from behind. Now we're seeing it from the front and hearing him talk. Like just what you were saying, like it's a totally different perspective, hearing how he's interacting, seeing his low points with his crew, hearing how they're handling. Like it rounded out the experience of who Jim Walmsley, the athlete, is on race day and his interactions. Like there's so many of those things waiting to be put together, but it would take someone dedicated to putting those. So all your interactions as a rabbit.
Right. And like always comes down to money, right? Like
money.
How do you pay to put that on? How do you pay to make that good? Where does it go? How does it make your money back? But it would be great if it was like a sports center, right? For goofy stuff like this.
It'll give you a reason to check in every week. Say it's 4 weeks between major races. It's like, okay, here we're talking about the top women last race. Next week we'll talk about the top men, and then we'll do like a quick little highlight, summary just to remind you right before the week start. I feel like it's pretty formulaic.
And ultras are so slow.
There's so
you can
much
get
story
footage
to
of
tell.
Everything.
There's so much story. Yeah.
You can have people out there jogging along, just getting silent footage of everyone. And then after the fact, this person did great. All right, let's compile and let's show a little let's show Kunkel behind the scenes. Great, let's do it. Next, it's like, well, Joshua Reed, let's show him. We got footage on everyone. They're not hard to stay with.
The athletes, well, they're hard to stay with.
But not for 24 hours.
Right, okay, they're shuffling along.
I can do that. Yeah. But athletes talk a lot more than you realize on the course. Even though you'd think they'd be out of breath, they're not like at an all-out sprint the entire time. So you can still talk if you're in a multiple-hour event. And I think a lot of people would really like some athletes who they probably aren't aware of because they don't get as much exposure just simply by hearing them talk and get to know them a little bit between the events.
I don't know if it was you guys or Golden Trail did a rabbits falling clip. It was like 6 to 7 minutes of a sloppy race. It was so entertaining.
Spartan did that for Greece trifecta. Because one of the European Championship in 2022. Because one of the rabbits like wiped out, following Richard Heineck, and got pretty injured. And then they had like a 4 or 5 minute video showing that. And I know that Steve Hammond also, I don't know if he posted it or someone tagged him in it, but there was like a compilation of him wiping out, chasing John Albin, me falling with Emma Cook Clark. There was at one point a video series like that.
Content is never going to be the issue. It's displaying it.
We need a rabbit to follow
the
rabbits.
Now we're talking.
This is what
rabbitception.
That is just where the future is. That's what my crystal ball just told me.
There we are.
That's my. But yeah, I think maybe that's what. Maybe we do start a sports center. You guys want to start a sports center for? That's what Race Brain ends up.
Yeah, we
being?
just need some money.
Give us that cake.
Just have Audio Sports Center.
Give us that cake. We'll be out there. We got rabbit. We got at least one rabbit with experience. That's you, Jack.
You're busy, Rich. So that's why you're never.
I wore a GoPro for a race once, so
that's pretty sick.
That's on my resume now.
You ever rewatch it?
No, it wasn't mine. It was for the race. They said we'll comp you entry, but we want you to wear a GoPro.
Was it on your chest?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it was on my head. It was dumb.
It's super dumb.
I felt like an idiot.
You probably looked like an idiot.
I showed up at the line. I'm like, this wasn't worth it.
All right, that was a good one, Jack. I like it. I think that I could. I don't necessarily agree with the crystal ball. I don't see it happening, but I think it should happen.
Last year was the year of the 3K. Let's flip it on its end. Let's do Ultra. That was my thought right there.
And it's just like the one-off thing that they're trying, and then they will never do ever again.
Who knows?
I hope not.
I like it. I like it.
Which brings us to wish list.
Wish list.
Rich, you want to go last?
Yeah, I have one more crystal ball thing.
Oh, you do?
I
do it.
No. I could try to flip it into a wish list. I don't. This one's not as fun as the other ones.
Okay.
Let's go wish list.
All right, I'm kicking off because this piggybacks my crystal ball. I see Hyrox surpassing Spartan, but my wish for this year is that with Spartan's move back to a national series and then a regional championship and then a world championship in sequential order, that this is, when we look back in a decade, this was step one towards the reemergence of the Spartan of old into the new world, and it was a rebirth. And that the old guard came back out for one last hurrah, and the new guard met them at the start line and raced them for the series, as many races as they could. And at the end of the year, for the first time in a long time, we knew who the best in the sport 1 through 20 were.
So you want an Avengers Endgame scenario here. We're going to go with the MCU analogies. You want them all to come together for one last battle.
Yeah, if we have to lose a few of them along the way, that's okay. It plays for the audience.
Part of doing business.
Yes.
That would be great. Do you think that could be handled like off, like not at a Spartan? Like you said, just like a...
No, I don't. I believe that as much as Spartan takes flack, the industry is only as strong as Spartan is. Because as Spartans faltered, who has taken up the mantle and surged? The only option is maybe Savage, but they haven't surged. They've just kept doing good things. But there's not like this exponential growth or anything. They haven't recaptured like captured some huge market share. Like Spartan is, like it or not, the industry. I think we need them. Because no one yet has, until someone comes along that can actually supplant them.
I think OCR Worlds had a strong argument for that, but the past 4 or 5 years has not been the case. And COVID messed that up. You had limited participation from people coming from Europe, but now they're at a pretty inaccessible venue for second year in a row. It's got to be Spartan at the end of the day.
And they could match their prestige at championships, but they don't do anything during the season. So I think we need Spartan. So no, unfortunately, Rich, I don't think so. I think it needs to be handled on the Spartan course because they're still the best option. There's still no buzz like a loaded Spartan race event buzz. There isn't.
And you get a little bit of like the nostalgia. You're like, oh, I used to love when this athlete here. Like, you're right. It needs to be what we hoped it was going to be.
Okay.
Because the sport is deeper than it's ever been. Talent at the top, has always been as good across the eras, but you've got the potential for 30 people where it's like, I don't know if they're going to get 6th or 30th.
And that's the problem. We have them, but they can't agree where to show up. Everyone always agreed we'll go to Spartan. That was a non-negotiable fact. They're going there. Now it's like Hyrox is the agreed upon thing for hybrid.
Yeah.
OCR doesn't have it.
They make it so impossible to face each other though in Hyrox.
Yeah, that's very true. But OCR is missing that right now. There's not a common battleground where it's like, hey, we're all going to show up and throw down. Savage had some great people show up and throw down. Spartan Worlds had some great people. Some 3K had some great people. FISO had some great people, but Trifecta did. But there was never once like we're all doing it. And it used to be you were the odd man out if you didn't show up. I want that back.
Is that kind of like how MMA would be like, or I guess like, isn't that kind of how boxing kind of splintered?
Boxing splintered bad.
Like then there was like no real place to see the best athletes compete against each other. And then
we've been getting more of it lately.
It almost seems as though for Hyrox as an example, because I'm sure there are people who want to face you, Rich, like for instance, but they don't have
all of Europe.
Bring it.
They don't have the ability to race in your group of 50. You can only have 15 people face each other. You could have 30 people in Spartan who are all on the same start line.
Right.
Yeah, that makes it very limited. It almost feels as though if Spartan was like, all right, half of you, who weren't in the Elite 15, you're going to run the sprint. And then the top guys, you're all running the beast. But you're not allowed to race the same races, same distances this weekend. But you'll all be there. You just can't go head to head. That's kind of what hybrid feels like for the exclusivity a little bit. But
let's get 100 skiers out there and just throw down somewhere outside.
Of them.
Yeah,
it's a valid point though. Like Abu Dhabi, name who do you wish was there this year? We could all start naming off people we wish that I wish Emma was there.
Kempson, Nicole,
Basilico, Heineck.
Yeah.
For the
now,
real
2015 Tahoe.
Basilico was there. He was in a different event.
Rich. That's right, for the real one.
Oh,
8 years ago, 2015 Tahoe. Who wasn't there that you wish was there?
2015.
Matt Murphy.
Okay, 1.
There aren't too many. Pretty much
Max
everybody
King.
was there.
2.
Yeah.
Like
right.
The list is short because even though it's 8 years ago, we all remember everyone was there. We haven't had that in our sport. I wish for that back.
I wish for that too. I long for this.
Long for it. Ache.
Now,
my bones.
Given the prize money situation, how does that tie into your
Make a wish?
You wishing?
All right.
Make a wish.
I wish that they would pay more prize money to athletes so that we can get Bracken's wish, because that's what it's going to take to get all those athletes out there again.
It takes prestige, and prestige only happens if your peer group bestows it upon the race, or if the community believes it's prestigious, or if the dollars and cents tell you it is. And because we don't have coverage, the United States, the world, they don't know that the series is prestigious. Our peer group isn't necessarily saying it matters this year because we're not sure. And the money certainly doesn't scream that it's prestigious. We need some of those pieces in place for it to matter.
So for the listeners, they are not paying individual races at all, any point, including the National Series race. The only people who will get paid this year by Spartan in the US are those who finish in the top 3 of the top 3 of the point series at the end of the year, based on your results from the 3 previous unpaid races. And I think it's $5,000 for first, like $2,000 and $1,000. It's not a ton of money.
No.
To incentivize the best of the best to go out there and do this many times. I don't think you're going to see mass participation on among the best of the best in the sport because of that.
It's like first year competition shit.
Hobie won $10,000 in 2011 money for winning Spartan Race World Championship.
$2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got $3,000 for that first year of point series.
For what place?
3rd.
Or if you got three stacks for the series.
The series,
which back then
on top of $2,000 for each podium along the way.
I was going to say, you won individually, and you had the NCU, the Navy.
I'm talking 2012.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty good year.
There was no Navy yet. Yeah, this is pre-first year nonsense out of Spartan, and the worst thing about it is that they made an announcement that said, "Stay tuned for a prize money announcement." They didn't say there's not going to be any prize money. And then later on, they find someone and say, hey, we're going to up it. They said, stay tuned for an announcement, and then announce that there was nothing. Like, that's the worst cliffhanger I have ever heard in my life.
The deal fell through.
That's Sopranos level of endings.
They had a lot of momentum, honestly, in my opinion. Like after this past season, as of a month ago, even I was like, this is pretty good spot to lead off the next season in. I don't think it's as good. So I looked it up. There were 90 races in the US that featured either an elite or just an age group heat, not open. There are 120, 130 of those if you include open heat only. But let's just look at those 90. And all that you do, what's the average race cost? $150 roughly.
Sure.
You get one extra person on each of those. You're going to make like $15,000 or something for 100 times 150. That's about $15,000. So let's say you get 2 to 3 new people sign up, or you just take their registration out of the 2,500 people who show up to your event, all you're doing is taking a couple of those and just putting it towards a dedicated prize pool at the end of the year. You're going to have like $40,000 of gender that you can give out, which at the end of the year, you could just do 15,000, 10,000, 7,500, 5,000, 2,500. You could have that with not a big drop in the bucket at the end of the year. It's probably like less than 0.1% of their sales realistically in the US only. And I think if you offered 15,000 for first place, you would have everybody coming back for it. End of the day. I don't know. I feel like it's a low hanging fruit. You're like, we have to save money, but for a company that's where an average race is costing hundreds of thousands of dollars to put on, is saving $40,000 that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things? I don't think it's the biggest cost cutting measure that they really need to do if they want to keep the competitive side alive.
This was my crystal ball told me about this as well. So that like Spartan is going to further divest from the athlete side of things, because now
turn into a wish quick.
Now I wish that
he wants the downfall.
I can't spin this one to something that I actually want. But
I wish it wouldn't. There you
go. But it seems like they're gonna have a side by side now. Like the thing you laid out right there is there's money. There is money around, but what we talked about before, there's a bunch of holes for them to fill. And now they're gonna have a direct comparison to how the athlete side of things isn't correlated to the bottom line in any way. I don't think it helps them. It doesn't help them make money, but it also doesn't really lose them money. Now they're going to see that they're going to have a better bottom line with basically just like not like considering the pro athlete side at all. And they're going to be like,
I told you.
Yeah. And then it's going to, all the athlete leverage that they thought they had, the old Spartan protest, like, hey, we're important to these people. Now they're going to be like, you're really not. Because the health of Spartan seems fine, right? Like I would imagine numbers of participants are up, and that like
they're consistent with the old times.
Yeah, like it's good.
At least on the elite side, yeah.
And they seem to have done some smart things with like every race is a trifecta weekend. Like we're not going to do like the one-offs in like a town that they just don't get those anymore. So they're
going to sprint only in a town where they get 1,000 people showing up. That doesn't happen.
Well, who's their title sponsor
this year? I don't know.
Craft.
Is it?
Believe so.
I don't know.
What's the national series presented by?
That is a good question.
Who's the banner on their website?
Spartan.
Like those are the three pieces that they don't have anymore because they got rid of the pro side. Now, I'm not here to grind an axe or twist the knife or whatever weird medieval analogy we need to use. But that was the piece we argued from the beginning, is that you can't sign title athletic sponsors without an athletic competition. And you sign them because of the pro team. And you got rid of it. Fine. A company shouldn't have a pro team. No. You got rid of the series money. Fine. You need to save money. But now you can't sell a $4 million sponsorship because there's nothing to sell it to.
Well, why not? Why can't they sell?
Because Rakuten and Reebok, they were signed in for the series, for the world championship, and for the TV rights. Those things don't exist. There is no series that matters. There's no eyes on it because you don't broadcast it. There's only 3 events now. You can't sell 5. World championship is overseas and they can't guarantee that the best people are going to go. There's no pro team to promote to all be out there on social promoting it. And so you can't sell a title race sponsorship without a race. Participation doesn't get you the same level of buy-in. At least they haven't found a way to do it.
Right. And that's what they're going to see is like, we can have sponsors. We can't sell them the athlete or the race side of things. We can sell them this participation numbers. Right. We can sell them what's in front of it. And there has never seemed to been, well, what's like the longest term sponsor that has funded this, and how long was it?
Reebok was 3 or 4 years,
which is pretty long.
Rakuten was 3 or 4 years and 26 million. Reebok was around 4 million a year is what we were hearing.
So maybe that's like the consistent life cycle. Maybe that's like a good life cycle.
It might be. It might just be what no one's picked up from there. Kraft has backed off.
Right. Like, are they seeing return on their, are the sponsors seeing return on their investment? I don't, it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I'd be like, I can confidently say maybe.
Even on the website, like, there's no sponsor for it. Just says the 2024 National Series.
So like little things for craft. Should people go buy their gear as the best race options? I'm not sure who races in craft. For 3 years, everyone raced in craft. And, you know, like, I don't know, there's little things that it's a bad step back if you can't sell your product. So the only way there's health is if you can sell it to people. If you can't sell it to sponsors, why can't we sell it to sponsors?
Right. And on the sports side of thing, and maybe they're looking at like, all right, we can cut costs with like labor costs and stuff now too. It's like, maybe we don't need to manage these relationships with these companies. If we just get rid of that entirely.
Yeah. But your point is accurate. Our dollars. And scary. You go from what, 5 3K events down to 3 regular events that were already occurring. No extra build, no extra day on course for people to have to work. And you're not paying out at the events. You've just saved money. And your scary point is that we will be seen as a liability, not as a pro. We're a con. And that's a bad precedent moving forward.
So I can all right, I can parlay this into a wish that
I just had one other thing on the competitive thing.
Okay.
I was on their website under the Spartan Championships page, and they have like this timeline on there, and it says 2010 first Spartan Race World Championship, 2018 20 plus Global Series launched, 2019 largest prize money in OCR, 2022 Elite and Age Group Only Series, 2023 3K format launch and burpee rule change, and then it has like an up arrow right there. But it says largest prize money in OCR, and that's 2019. That tells you something.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
COVID was a real issue.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And that was Abu Dhabi, to be clear.
2021 was Abu Dhabi.
Oh, what was 19?
Tahoe. That was the Killian year.
That was the last year in Tahoe?
Snow year.
Okay.
COVID was a problem.
Yes, it was.
I know.
No denying that.
I know at this point we kind of roll our eyes because we hear it so much, but like that shit was a problem for this company. Big time.
Yeah, it's amazing they survived it.
Yeah. And that they're going to the sport, maybe not. All right. So a wish that I do have is that I wish Spartan does get rid of the elite completely.
Get out of here, Rich. You're gone.
And that
you just want to turn this into more hybrid only show for you.
No.
Rich just wants more people to beat in hybrid. He's sick of getting 10th in the national series every race. So he's like, I got to get rid of them.
I ain't going on their terrain. No chance. But like, I think that there's a viable option for Spartan as a competitive series and competitive outlet for age group athletes. I don't think they need to get rid of the competition, but I don't necessarily know how elite racing and racers fits into this much now. And I would love it to be like, there's this CrossFit competition. I'm pretty sure it's mobile. I like travels from gyms. It's called Festivus. Mm-hmm. Like Festivus for the rest of us. It's a scaled and like newcomer CrossFit competition, right? Like it's not for elites. I think that's an outlet here for a Spartan where they could still have the 333, right? They could still all race each other, the 111 or whatever.
Check.
111.
I'm trying.
No,
I'm just letting him spew out the rest of the garbage. This might be the worst take of all time.
What I wish. Because then it's like, I don't know, like it's not going to be what we want it to be almost ever again. It's just going to get like worse and worse. And they're going to see that what we just saw on the bottom line of things like, oh, this doesn't do anything for us. And like maybe they could sell some sponsors. Maybe the age group athletes are the ones who are getting some of the gear. Like they can be way cheaper they can reinvest things to like sick trophies and awesome medals, something that is like special in that way. Not really.
I don't think reinvest is in their vernacular anymore.
So Rich, you're saying if Lindsay or VJ or Ryan, if they're not winning, you're totally fine with declaring whoever the best obstacle racer is, because they're not going to show up if there's no financial incentive to do it. You're like, whatever.
But we'll
best
all
obstacle
know,
racer on the planet is. No. How do you know?
We'll all know that it's not. Well, it would be Spartan. I'm not talking about the best obstacle racer on the planet. There could be like the other outlets that do exist, but we would all know it's like, okay, this is.
Are you
like,
being paid by FISO?
I'm on that big FISO dollar. I'm getting all that streaming money comes right to my pockets. $1 a stream to me, and then, but you would just know. You'd be like, all right, this is just the people who want to push themselves in this specific area, and it's competitive for people who do want to push themselves to that level. But in terms of like elite Spartan racing, it's already like kind of hurting.
That's why we wish for another year to go at it again.
Yeah, I wish that Rich didn't lose his mind.
Yeah, I want to go out on my sword, not on my diaper.
That was horrible.
No more elite. No,
I wish soil trouble for Rich.
Can't happen.
I know a guy.
The soil is settled.
I'm gonna call the utility department.
Still
just
be
do some
competitive,
digging.
but there can still be competitive OCR. It doesn't have to be Spartan, and just like get him out of here.
All right, I'm moving past it as if you didn't say anything.
Social breakout.
My question to the elites, any of whom who are listening, the pro end of the sport, do any of you care about series payouts over individual event payouts? And I understand I'm not at the place anymore where I'm really in line for either of those. But historically, I would have taken an event payout over a series payout 10 times out of 9. Is there a way that we could get them to back up and say, all right, we're going to put a few extra thousand into it, take it away from the series, and just get people? Let's pay 5 deep at every race. To me, that's more valuable as an athlete. Now, again, I don't think I'm the target audience anymore, but so I'd like to hear, honestly, we know a few of them listen. Does the series payout move the needle for you at all? Or would you prefer to see individual race payouts?
Every single year that the national series started in the past, whether it was St. Louis Obispo or Jacksonville, we were always like, there are so many good athletes here, and they all have a shot at the same title at the end. And then a few of them have a bad race. They're not showing up to that second one. They know they're out of the series.
Or like there was the time I was conflicting with the stadium series, right? It was like
the City Field, Seattle. Yep.
And then people came in, saw, and had to race BK, and they're like, "Fuck, I screwed up. I should have kept it in the dirt. BK just put me there.
Sanitary suffering.
The dirt in the stadium. Yeah, I guess the infield dirt, but bottom line, what we've seen for years, people don't care about the end of the year for the most part, unless you are in it after like 2 races. They're not sticking around for a losing effort, and with this little money, even if you're flying on Allegiant and sleeping in a tent before a race, you're not breaking even for most of these races.
You have to win to break even.
Yeah.
100%. So one person might like it.
Right. And it's like probably somebody who's not the best, who's like, I'm going to go to all these, and I'm like the 7th best, and I'll win this.
And that's usually who takes 3rd, right? Or 4th or 5th. It's someone who just hung around all of them.
If I'm Johnny Luna Lima, for instance, who hasn't really been relevant in OCR for a few years, he won Big Bear at one point and he won Utah at one point. Do this series. You're the one who's going to break even. You live at altitude anyway. That's who I'd be looking at, but not too much for the rest of them.
Yeah. So I'd just like to hear some feedback. Am I in the minority or a majority here saying just put money on every race and take away the series? Because it's like anticlimactic by the end.
All right, I'm not giving up.
I agree with you, Bracken.
I'm not giving up here.
Get rid of them all. No pro racing.
No. Only have the invitationals, 3 invitationals, and then no elite outside of those 3 invitationals that are not a series, that are standalone tent poles that can be like, they'll probably have to slap some championship word on it and be like, oh, whatever. But let's just do that. I'm cool with that. Sure. We can still watch them racing. We don't have to have it be like anywhere else.
Every other race, if you want to compete against the best, sign up for the first wave of the day.
But it's all age group.
Well, I mean, it is now.
You're still going to have 3 to 10.
We don't have age
every
group
local
anymore.
race showing up.
We don't. Well, and Hyrox actually doesn't have elite. They don't have elite like podiums.
Pro, yeah.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't have. You only win your age group in Hyrox.
Okay.
You don't like win the race. You're not like the.
So Hunter's winner. 30 to 34. He's sweeping those all the time.
I think he's out of that category. I think he's 35 now.
Oh, okay.
But yes,
He's washed.
But yes, that's what I want. I'm with that. I like that, BK. That would be great for us to be able to watch.
All we want is like 3 to 5 races that we get to watch where we're just seeing some battles, both genders, good people showing up. Like we lost the entire dream team last year. I would love to see a lot of them show up again in the women's field. We want
or like
Annie.
the
We want Emma
misnomer team.
Was it? I didn't
So
hear.
More like the misnomer team. Come on.
Yeah.
Can't be the dream team and not race.
True.
That's true.
True that. But yeah, the series this year might actually suck. Are we gonna have to draft that? It was rough. It was rough.
We'll see what
this
happens.
Year. And that was an example, like that last race in Mexico. Like, I don't even remember what happened. It was Angel.
Ida whooped everybody. Angel, he won.
And then Manu won the series.
He had the swollen knee. Yeah.
Right.
Rylan got 5th because he had so much racing. Yeah. Ida.
The series?
For the
Who won the women's series?
How can I not even Yanka 3rd, Ida 2nd.
Popova?
No.
That almost broke Jack's brain and he can't figure this out.
My brain's broken. I can't think. Chris. Probably.
See, you know how that's what I'm like.
Chris, she got 2nd in Mexico. First in
BK's point.
Series are done.
We don't even care.
Yeah.
We really didn't even care about this. And this was like a proper series where we're paying out.
It's a participation participation award at that point.
Now, historically, the first or second best racer won the series.
Yeah.
It was Cody, Hobie, Atkins, Hobie, Atkins. Like it played out well.
VJ won one year.
But only because the best person was also the most active and consistent.
There was that one year where VJ won, what was it? Alabama, Jacksonville, and then was that the Asheville year where he won 3 races and it was add your points across the 5. So he couldn't win, even though he won more than
he chose
half
not
of the
to
races.
go to them.
I know
I think he did Jacksonville that year, and then he didn't do Big Bear. I think.
There was one year where he was by far the best racer, but he didn't have the participation enough. And people who ran all 5 races simply accumulated enough points because of the flawed point structure, and then they finished ahead of him. And it was like, this is stupid for the series.
I mean, I'm against series. I'm just saying that 9 times out of 10, the best racer or second best racer won the series.
All right, let all of us have done stadium races. Let's say that they offered increased prize money at certain stadium races versus the series as a whole. What do you do? Are you like, I'm going to show up to all of them? Or are you like, I'm going to really be prepared for Fenway because that is a good venue for my skill set, for instance? Like, which one are you going after? All of them?
Every time they offer money, you show up.
Yeah.
Oh, if they're paying out for them, yeah.
Yeah, it's like making it a series. To me, you pay for the series and then you lose participation along the way. You pay for each race, and some people might pick their best race, but the majority of people are going to show up each time because they like racing. Like, we're looking for a reason to race in this sport.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like, just give me something important to race. I want to race.
I agree with that.
Who else wishes something? Jack, you got something?
I wish we had a little bit more direction on clean form in hybrid races and what is an allowable rep. I think that they're making some progress with that, but we saw at DEKAFIT World Championship, or all the Deka World Championship events, some really sketchy lunges, some really terrible ram burpee extension. No one's extending. They're not standing up straight. We see it. They have a bucket for some people in the past for Hyrox. It's just, learn how to do things the proper way. And I really wish that judges would enforce bad reps.
Yes. We need to shame people into compliance. It's the
you
only
do it
way
enough,
it's going to work.
Everybody will learn the right way. Everyone knows the right way. They're just trying to get away with it. That's the biggest difference.
I don't think you can't say that.
Some are.
You don't think that
you can't say everybody.
What do you think people are doing at the gym during training? Are they doing sloppy reps on their own, or are they
probably like they're just trying to go fast and like doing the standards to what they feel like they're hitting, and when they're not being corrected, then they think that they're doing it right. Like, I think people need to get hit with no reps so that they can clean up their form during training. But I think a lot of times it's like, in training you're doing burpee broad jumps and like you're stepping too far forward or something like that. And you don't even notice, or your hands are leaping out too far forward and it just feels normal. I don't think everybody's doing it. There's definitely some people that Deka's a little bit easier to fudge for a lot of it. But I like this one, Jack. You got to like, the judging needs to be locked in.
Yeah, I hate to be that armchair quarterback, but I used to defend the athletes. It's gotten worse this year. And so when I was a teacher, my mentor used to tell me, if you ever have to sub or take over a classroom, you kick one kid out in the first 5 minutes and you set the tone. Every time he said, I'm kicking someone out, I'm sending them to the principal's office. Yeah, and I'm telling the principal beforehand, listen, you're going to get a call in the first 5 minutes. I'll let you know how bad it is. You might just have to sit on for 5 minutes and send them back. I'm setting the tone. And that just might be what we need. Someone needs to be DQ'd from a major for egregious form, and everyone's going to toe the line. You just need one sacrificial lamb.
If I qualified and then had it for Worlds and then was in another major, and they would pay me to be this person, if they would like have someone out there, like planted me out there, I'll do it.
There's one other way to do it, is that you just get a camera on everyone during the burpee broad jumps, lunges, wall balls, and then you make an official call out video right after the race. Say, we are establishing standards. This Rich Ryan right here doing this, fail, incorrect. You just publicly announce it and shame the people, and then it'll never happen again. It's mean.
Would you pick one person, or would you do, this is just the race,
my least favorite people.
We're going on everybody. Yeah.
But then it doesn't change the race result. It's like, no, he did this all wrong, but still got third or whatever.
Going forward, this will be a DQ. But yeah, I mean, you just got to DQ people.
You've got their season start, or their season ends in June. It's like, hey, we're going to use examples from the rest of the season. As soon as World Championships is over this year, once France is done, here's the new rules that we're going to be doing next year. We're just going to call people out from this past year, though.
There's no sense having rules if you don't punish them. I shouldn't say punish. Enforce them.
Enforce.
I'm not looking
punishment.
For punishment.
We don't want.
I want compliance, not punishments.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, we don't want penalties.
There's no reason to have them if you don't enforce it. Can't be on our system because we're not to be trusted.
Right.
You get too tired. You search for speed, or you're just a skeezy person. One of the three options is all it takes.
Same thing with like ram burpees, for instance, that decided multiple podium places / winners in Deka World Championships. And it's like, enough with the half, like a little bit over your head, the push forward. I think, I forget which one of you mentioned, the hand release at the bottom. That would be a great way to just ensure people are actually doing that. Yeah. And then a full lockout at the top. It's just start and end point. Do whatever you want in the middle. All you have to do is check those two boxes.
Yeah, I wish that too. Just because I hate the
optics.
The optics are whatever. I don't like. I mean, the optics are bad. Optics are definitely bad from like outside for a recruitment purpose. But just like the discourse around it after, and just people be like, oh, if only X, Y, Z. It's like, let's just
turns a positive event negative.
Yeah,
and then people are watching it in the comments instead of, enjoying the competition. They're fighting about form. And you have people that are in the know saying that is absolutely legal, and other people who are in the know saying that is a terrible form.
Right.
It's not good. It's just not good for anyone.
Just think about what we make fun of CrossFit for. Like, we're never really being like, oh, they didn't lock out. They're almost always having reasonable form, especially on like the Olympic lifts, because they're not going to get a rep unless they do it. We're making fun if they can't measure with a wheel, that kind of stuff. We're not making fun of form. And I think if the form cleans up, they've got it down to a science, how each course is pretty you can replicate them very easily. For Deka specifically, Hyrox still doesn't have that. That would be another wish, to get a consistent course layout, but that'll never happen. But
yeah, we're better off hoping they don't use time.
Yeah.
And that would also, I think that could help this issue as well, because it's a problem when you see people with bad reps and their time gives them some sort of advantage for the year, right? For forever.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially 2 seasons in a row, if you lock in a good one, you're going to at least start next season with an edge.
People are going to be qualifying for times they ran a year ago, like starting now. Just fucking crazy. Insane. Unless they wipe that. I don't know. I got to say. Anyone else wish anything?
No.
Nah. See how it happens.
I wish every athlete to be paid on time this year. How about that?
That's nice.
That'd be good.
That's nice. And I wish that there's big time sponsors rolling in who will be helpful in I don't know. It doesn't seem like Spartan ever did this. Like they wanted the pro team thing, right? And they helped people get followings. Because like a following for an athlete in this type of sport is basically how they're going to profit from it, right? Like the race itself, like yes, if you race, you go out, when you win races, you'll collect checks and that will be good. But really the sponsorship and the exposure and the amount of people who are following you, right, is going to be really where you can make a little bit more sustainable money. I would love to see, and Spartan, I don't know if they ever helped kind of coach people to improve their like social media or personal brand. I feel like something like that, it doesn't necessarily have to be within the company because like we said, Spartan having a pro team is weird in the first place. I don't think Hyrox need to be like, all right, we're going to teach these people how to be influencers or whatever.
They should. It only helps them.
It does. I think that would be a reason, or them, or if sponsors are come in and do help instead of like trying to capitalize on a following, help facilitate growth. That's something I wish.
I wish for a race brand at a race together.
Ooh.
Which one?
Where are we going? Jacksonville?
Can't.
Jacksonville.
I'm not doing Jacksonville.
I can't.
Seattle.
Seattle may be fun.
I would consider that.
Seattle's September.
I wish Bracken would race a little bit more.
He's out there.
In hybrid. Race period.
Indiana 24-hour? We can all go to Indiana. We can each get some kind of race.
24 is that 20? Is it 25K?
That's the sponsored by Rabdo.
25-hour.
Listen, it was my full intent to do it last year. And once again, injuries in the first half of the year kept me from being able to. And so once again, this year, it's my intent to race more. I have a whole schedule built out. It's just, will I arrive there?
Indiana's not bad.
I'm out of town for Indiana.
They'll be
in
Indiana.
We are at Mount Rushmore for Indiana.
Oh, nice.
Ryan Kent was just there.
I saw that.
Yeah. I went there for 4th of July a couple of years ago. It's really cool.
Did you see that there's a DEKAFIT in Colorado?
Roadshow.
Sounds terrible.
Cirrus Arena.
Is that Cirrus? It says Superior. Which is
I thought it's Cirrus who's doing it. Maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, I don't know. It's on here right now. It doesn't say Roadshow.
Don't expect to be paid if you are.
I don't know if necessarily. Oh my god, this would be so miserable. But we could all be there. BK, come out, hang out. We got a spot for you.
Yeah, come out and compete at altitude.
Why not? Dude, we got to get you on a relay. We just got to see what you can do in a Deka relay. You would be that guy. 200
SoCal, NorCal,
250s at a time. You can do that at altitude.
Yeah. Plan is
did you see
sprint, Deka, Hyrox team. I got to hit them all this year. That's the plan.
Did you see the caption for the Philadelphia race on August 24th?
You might get stabbed.
No, it's the Thrilla in Phila.
Oh, that's
what?
I didn't come up with that.
That's exciting.
Oh yeah,
let's stabbed.
Well, let's go.
Go Birds.
Go Birds, baby.
You know what? I'm looking at this right here, and the last DEKAFIT on the calendar is September 7th and 8th in Florida. That is an early. No, actually, that's within 2 weeks of what Orlando was again. So I have no idea when the World Championship is. But do you like that, having that potential multi-month gap in between World Championships?
I don't think it's optimal, but it's been okay. It's been okay. Because then you're not waiting until the last second like we have for Hyrox to like know who's qualified. You should like know what it's going to be. You have an opportunity to like book travel, plan your training around it. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Okay. I wish that Hyrox and Deka athletes don't have to choose this year. That major events don't overlap ever again.
Yeah.
For all of time.
This place is super close, BK. Come through for the Colorado one. We'll just hang out.
Yeah, Superior's, you can drive there in 10 minutes from where you're at, right?
I'm going to be there.
What's the altitude?
Probably
Is it in the
like
fives?
50.
50,
Yeah, it's like
55,
56,
sub
57
six.
probably. Yeah. You're fine.
What time of year?
Come down for the training camp. We'll come
May.
hang out.
May?
Yep.
May what?
Beautiful weather.
25th.
It's actually pretty close to
Bracken May
Hyrox
go.
World Championships. Come
Are we
hang
going to
out.
do
Oh, it is.
an
It does
obstacle
say,
race together, or
it does
are
say
you
hosted by
retired, Rich?
Cirrus Fitness. It says Deka Roadshow hosted by Cirrus Fitness. So yeah, you were right on Javelin Jack. OCR?
Are you retired?
No, come on, dude. I can't retire from it's like it's saying you're retired is like who's an NBA player that's like, oh yeah, I'm announcing my retirement. That just like has been a journeyman, like an Ish Smith character. People
Goran Dragic. He did Dragic a couple days ago.
Nah, Donnie's the man. Goran. Yeah, like that'd be like Ish Smith tossing out some sort of like retirement announcement, and then
it's like, we know you've been gone.
It's like, oh, you were still thinking you were part of this? No, I'm not swinging from no monkey bars anytime soon.
Seattle.
All right, Seattle it is.
Sounds good.
And one other thing, and we could wrap this thing up. I wish BK keeps that dunk streak alive for the next decade.
Decade.
46.
Dude, you see what LeBron's doing out there?
He's
He'll be
6'9".
He'll be dunking that. I think Tom Brady could probably dunk.
No way.
I'm getting iffy here. Last year on New Year's Day, I had to break 5 in the mile. And this year on New Year's Eve. This year on New Year's Eve, I had to find access to a gym to dunk. It came down to the wire.
Could you then dunk today and count it as this year?
Yeah, because it's this year.
You should do that right now. Go
as
out.
Soon
and
as
dunk.
my legs are back, I'm gonna get one down.
There's still.
I dunked on January 3rd last year to start off, and I was planning at one point doing a mile, and then my knee thing happened, and never ended up doing. I did it on a downhill trail. Doesn't count, but.
Rich, I played basketball 4 days in a row. I had that 2-day tournament.
Damn.
And then the day after,
and
I had to dunk, and my legs are shot.
Oh no. Yeah, you should have done that like blade, 2 days of rest, warm up for 90 minutes,
hour,
dunk. So if you give it a couple more days of rest, you should dunk right now. Get it out of the way for the year.
However, the 5-minute mile and the dunk streak combined is now at 20.
Wow,
impressive.
That's great.
Yeah, 2004 was my first one.
That's pretty nasty, man.
Haven't missed a year.
Rich, how many dunks have you had?
No dunks.
You've never dunked in your life?
No dunks. Damn. I'm more of a. I can get to the bucket though. I got a
Steve Nash or Tony Parker.
I got a quick first jump, so I can get up there and grab a board. I don't need to be all the way up there.
Yeah.
I got position too and hustle. Don't think I don't.
I'm sore in all sorts of places right now.
I can't imagine playing basketball.
Just anymore. It's just not happening.
No.
The lateral movements, that's bad.
I would definitely need to prepare. I would need to be like not really training for a while and preparing just to move laterally, just to play like 30 minutes half court.
I did a softball game with Audrey's work. They needed to fill in. And I'm like, sure, sounds good. I played rec softball in Houston a ton. Like I played baseball all the years. And for like 4 days, I was wrecked from sprinting, maybe 120 total feet.
Right.
It is another, it's horrible.
My thing was jumping and landing. I play basketball twice a week with my dad and the old guys. And so I'll you react a little bit. So I have some lateral in me, but I never take off and I never land. I always stay planted. And that was different. It felt like I ran a mountain race the next morning after the first night of games. I all my stabilizers, front of 360 around my lower legs from knee down. Everything was just wrecked.
We need to
no
get
injury though.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
So you get those crash pads that they have for people doing BMX biking, where you just shove the pad underneath when you jump, just so you can just fall and land real nice.
Yeah.
Do it over a foam pit.
You know, like you get caught a little and you land 1 foot with it a little behind you and everything jars a little. I haven't done that in a while. So
no, I would be like, I'm out. I'm good. We're not doing
it felt good. Made it through it healthy.
Congrats. That's sick. That's amazing.
That'll be a good sign for this year.
You think anyone else has that streak?
My brother lost his last year. I'm sure
I didn't get the
family?
5-minute mile last year, but I'm 2 years shorter of a streak, so mine ended at like 16 or 17.
I don't know.
Let's get
Sean
2004 to
Roberts. I bet
2023.
Sean Roberts will be up there. He's been doing it for a while. I think he's 33, 32.
Yeah, I wonder what his is.
Probably slower than yours.
Shorter, not slower. He had a sub-4 in a dunk in the same year, I
No,
think.
his mile's not what yours is right now. No chance.
Sean Roberts?
Just kidding.
Just
gassing you up, dog.
Nas?
Just gassing you up, son.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. We're making up from time that we overdid it for the past couple weeks. So appreciate everybody popping through. Happy to have this next year of Race Brain ahead of us. Should be a lot of interesting things happen. Seeing if anything happens in our crystal ball, see how, like, if this was more like Magic 8-Ball type of stuff coming through, or if it's just some of these things are going to happen. But we're excited to be back, feeling refreshed after a week off. BK, what you got in the running public?
We just did an episode on the opposite end of the spectrum of people who are jazzed up to get after goals in 2024.
Nice.
People who are a little aimless right now in the doldrums.
I like it. I like it. Armar took off, full week off of podcasting, so we're ready to go. We're ready to rock.
Fresh.
Okers is the right way to end the year.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, squad. Talk to you soon.
Good to see you, boys.
See you in 2 weeks for me.